Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting Thursday night coverage of the Stars and Stripes Racing Series. Season 7 has had some incredible finishes, but tonight we go under the lights to Nashville Superspeedway to see what the concrete has for these drivers for race number 7. It's the Honky Tonk 200 here in Music City as the drivers are underway with qualifying. We're about to get you to the coverage. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is going to be Zach Hall up in the booth. Zach, we have seen these Gen 4 cars have great finishes all around, but coming to this type of a course, really not sure what we're going to see because the last 3 times they've been here, there's been a total of just 1 caution through all 3 races.
Well, if we repeat that, Sam, I'll be very, very impressed because this track's going to be tough with this Gen 4 Cup Series car. Super high horsepower, very low grip surface here. It's cool to see already into the nighttime conditions for these drivers as they head into their qualifying mode right here. But I tell you what, this track, not the easiest track to drive, but I feel like the horsepower is one thing that's going to make this track 10 times harder than a lot of the other cars we see attack this racing surface. So I'm excited to see what goes down, and I expect tons of fall off here with this concrete surface and all the horsepower, of course.
All the horsepower going to help all these drivers trying to maximize their speed off the exit as qualifying, like I said, underway. Zach Kreitz in the 46, quick lap on his second time, and it's going to be pole position for the 46. But Chris Worrell, one of the rookies this season, deciding he wants that top board. But the main driver to watch out for, like we said, we've ran here 3 times. Kyle McCoy has won every Nashville Superspeedway race, but qualifying hasn't been the strength of the 7. We'll see if he can aim for his first ever pole at this track.
He's had to do most of his work definitely under the racing scenarios this season. We'll see what he can produce for himself, as we know he has tons of speed in race mode, but if he can back it up in qualifying, that's only going to help his causes. He's through 3 and 4. We'll see what this second lap time is going to produce, because that second one has been the quicker for most. And Kyle McCoy crossing the line. It's going to be a 29.951, and that's going to put him up to second on the board there, Sam. So great time by Kyle McCoy.
Great time for himself. Diego Valle just speeding out, and top of the board was the 68. Curious on if he's going to see anyone else try to kind of rattle the cage as we see Scott Rickard on track. Scott won back at Pocono a few weeks back. The 05 will get back into victory lane to be a multi-time winner, and joining the club of Ross Tatum, who's got 2 wins, Diego Valle, who's got 2 wins. This 05 has been looking very strong this season. The consistency on the long run, though, has been what the 05 is searching for. But with qualifying, final lap for Scott Rickard. Where will the speed be at? Trying to stay low, keep the speed up. So it's going a little bit high off the exit, a lot of wiggling. That's not a clean exit at turn 4, but with the Gen 4 cars, it's about being on the edge. And across the line was going to be only 11th fastest for Scott Rickard.
That's such a tough break for him. If he finds 2-3 more hundredths of a second, he pushes himself all the way up almost to the 6th or 7th position, on the board. So just shows you how little mistakes just like that off of 4 there, that little slide can maybe be the time difference between you losing 4 to 5 spots on the starting grid. So very competitive field, and at the moment with only 33 seconds left, we got some drivers trying to make the attempts for their laps as Ryan Lynch here on his final flyer.
Ryan Lynch is up across the line to be fast. Also going to be the 30 machine of Joshua Robinson as they're trying to beat out Thomas Ogle, the dominator from last week at Bristol. Got the pole, led the most laps, and won. And Joshua Robinson going to be coming up short, but coming out of turn number 4, I mean, this 31's been hoping for some extra speed, and just as the clock is about to hit 0, Ryan Lynch bounces from 23rd up to 16th. Not a bad qualifying run for a driver that's been trying to find that more of consistency for himself. But they all got to beat out the 11. Thomas Ogle finding himself in that of the pole position for the 2nd week in a row. This 11 hoping that this big swing after last week's win at Bristol is going to carry forward here at the concrete of Nashville Superspeedway. Drivers are gritting up. Let's take a look at our qualifying results here tonight for the Honky Tonk 200 at Nashville Superspeedway. And the Gen 4s taking the pole award goes the 11 of Thomas Ogle. 2nd goes to Diego Valle. 3rd Joshua Robinson in the 30, Kyle McCoy in the 7, going to be in 4th, with Chris Worrell taking 5th position. Zach Kreitz, the 46th machine, going to be starting in 6th place. James Lowe in 7th. Trey Jackson going to be in 8th. Derek Hoffman 9th, and finishing out our top 10, it's the 44 of Kyle Bowling.
Starting from 11th, it's going to be the 21 of Ross Tatum. Alongside him in that row is going to be the 3 car of Christian Lost in the 12th position. 13th is going to be the 05 of Scott Rickard. Alongside him in 14th, it's going to be James McRae. Last season's champion, Andrew Hess, going to start back in 15th. With this in 16th, holding the position is Ryan Lynch. 17th is going to go to Will Bustler. 18th is going to go to Adam Pettit. 19th is going to be the 4 of Aaron Hill. And rounding out the top 20 is Jason Gray.
Then in 21st position, going to be Brian Burchett in the 33. Jonathan Wood's going to be in 22nd position. 23rd is Dylan Grimm in the 23 machine. 24th is for the 24 car, Brian Lynch. 25th position in the 65 is George Kovacic. Joshua Altus in 26th position. 27th is going to be Tim McNally. 29th is Brian Chu. And Robert Sherwood going to be your 30 drivers here tonight. Excited to see how this field is going to be able to react this evening, as June White is still seeing, and we're going to be seeing the 09 grid up and get ready for tonight's run. This June White has been very quick, but Zach, Thomas Ogle carrying with the momentum that he grabbed last week at Bristol, taking the pole. It's 11, certainly looking for another win.
Concrete and just the momentum carried from last week's track at Bristol. I tell you what, it's definitely carried over, Sam, that's for sure, with this pole position. And this is a great place to start up front at too. This is not going to be an easy place to pass. There's going to be very low grip really for all 4 tires when it comes to this racing surface, and that only makes the passing that much more tough. The drivers are going to really have to learn how to manage their equipment and make it through this race without making any major mistakes, because one major slip up off the exit corner, that wall is just lurking for really ruining your race.
And tonight under the lights, how is the grip level going to be helping out these drivers? As a lot cooler with the concrete. And will it be the first lap, or will it take a couple laps for these tires to be up to speed and they can maximize on that grip? Tonight's race will be 150 laps in total. No stage break, no fast repairs. One of the big changes though here tonight, instead of the usual just 3 sets of tires in pit road, the admins made a change. 4 sets of tires in pit road here tonight. That is going to be a big swing to watch out for. And as well, it's been Kyle McCoy. He's never got the pole here, but he's won every race here at Nashville. As they enter the restart zone, the Honky Tonk 200 is underway at Nashville Superspeedway. Stars and Stripes Racing Series having Thomas Ogle, Diego Valle, Joshua Robinson all roaring down into turn number 1.
Luckily for Ogle, he looks like he was going to clear for a moment, but Valle fights strong into the entry, but just not enough through the center. That 11's able to clear down the back straightaway as Valle closely competing, but it's Joshua Robinson who's got Kyle McCoy on his heels.
Going to be aggressive on trying to close in on the gap. Kyle McCoy, a little bit of a higher lane, same for others, but lap number 1 handed over to Thomas Ogle as Brian Lynch having a little bit of a slip up for himself. Going to be moving forward, but this 31 not looking good after a great qualifying time for himself.
Tough break there, but luckily didn't have anything too detrimental to, ruin his race car or take him out of this race. So he'll luckily be trying to get caught back up and hope for something to help him get back into this mix up here. But Diego Valle, he's shown throughout the season those strong qualifying runs have shown tons of speed. This 68 looks like a different driver this season, Sam.
He certainly does. The consistency is carried over from last season. You think about his rookie season and campaign, they were running in the ARCA car, less horsepower than these vehicles, but it was all that of Diego Valle that was showing out. They could be very quick. Qualifying runs weren't there, but he was great at moving through the field to be up front at the end of the day. It was the second half of the season where we saw this 68 kind of fall off, but here this season, trying to get the 3rd win for himself after winning at Michigan and Dover. As we also know, Thomas Ogle can be fast, but Kyle McCoy, 3-time winner here, the 3-time champ in general in the Stars and Stripes, he's been looking consistent, but yet to get a win this season, Zach, is the 7 machine.
Yet to get a win for sure, but it really surprises me. I feel like this car would suit Kyle McCoy better than really any car in this service. He's really, really good when it comes to a rear limited car. and this car usually tends to be on the rear side of the tires, but you can hurt the right front and make this car actually not turn well. So it it's kind of a car that you can have both conditions. It's just really how you drive it. So I think Kyle McCoy's still getting acclimatized to this car change. We'll see though. I think at some point that win in the win column is going to be appearing.
Especially on if you look at past seasons, it's a lot more of that middle of the season to the start of the playoffs when the 7 really starts to hit his mojo and is one of the most dominant drivers out there on track. Another driver looking for their first win this season, Chris Worrell, really was showing out in the first handful of races this season and has been showing moments of being the most dominant driver at times, but at other moments really lacking on that long run pace. This 6 hoping for the long run pace to be here, especially in the fact that we've only had one caution. That was all the way back in season 3 when they ran at this race. Didn't run last season for season 6, but honestly, this track has that potential of always staying green. Also with this series knowing how to stay green as well.
No doubt, Sam. It really does have a great potential. This track, not only, but the series don't go along with it. So the potential is there. And if you're someone like Worrell, you definitely need to have the long run speed and even including everybody around here. James Lowe, who's back there 6th, right behind Joshua Robinson, who Robinson's been kind of the driver I feel like that's been the biggest saver of everybody. It seems like every race really gives up some time, but usually kind of gains that time back as the run goes on. But Lowe's just kind of been one of those consistent drivers that's been fast pretty much throughout the whole entire run. It's never really a spot he's dropping back. It's just consistently trying to keep the pressure on and move forward. And looks like, again, another classic race for the 99 so far. I'm sure at some point we could see this rookie in the win column.
Oh, absolutely. The only weakness we've seen for James Lowe was back at Dover, but there was also the circumstances of the timing of the yellows when they were coming out that really shook up that race. And this 99 knows how to be fast at most races that we're at, and known for being very aggressive in the early portions of these races, trying to build up that knowledge of how the tires are going to be reacting. Not surprised. In fact, he's already up 1 position and putting the pressure on Joshua Robinson, who's given up 2 spots here after qualifying in 3rd. Didn't get the run that he wanted, though, on that inside lane on the initial start of this race, but he's 30 in the 99. Waiting games. Who wants to be putting the pressure? Who doesn't? Because this race is all about that patience and then also strategy. Because Zach, fuel mileage, we don't have the exact numbers, but we are always expecting that these races, if they stay green, it's going to come down to that fuel mileage.
It could get very close because I'll tell you what, usually these 1.5-mile courses, which tonight's race, Nashville, close to 1.5 miles. It's 1.33 miles. So it's very similar to that 1.5 miler that we usually see. And those tracks usually were right around the 45 to 44 to 46 range when it comes to fuel. So if we are, that little bit extra shortness of this track, I think could help maybe them stretch it to 50, but I still think getting to 50 is going to be what these drivers are looking to do. And if it's close, some might look to stretch it, and that's where we see definitely those strategies come into play.
Try to get up front, be aggressive, and attack this track. 28 drivers initially took the green here this evening. Tim McNally and June White both missing out on tonight's race. Drivers that are trying to be on the move going forward. Got the 05 Scott Rickard up 3 spots right in front of him. Ross Tatum up 2 spots, and Ross Tatum is the epitome of consistency this season. He's finished in the top 10 every race, the only driver to do that so far in our first 6 races of the season, and looking to try to go for another top 10 potentially. As talking about this 21, also up front, seeing some movement. Diego Valle has been able to go for the passes. Thomas Ogle, switchback move as they go through the front stretch to 11. Not waiting to give up this position just yet, but looks like he'll give the hand away.
Looks like he backed out of that one there, Sam. He said, you know what? You fought hard for it to get to my inside and clear me, and now you might not have the good runoff, but I'm going to give it back to you if you want to go that fast. And, this track can be one of those tracks where you can get caught up and really try to go run a fast lap. I compare almost to Dover, where it's a track that it feels like there's tons of grip, and then when the grip goes away, you suddenly feel like you have none. So it's a very tough track to tell if you're saving or not, or burning your tires up. So I think some drivers are concerned about how fast the pace is. I mean, that's why Ogle said, just go ahead and do it.
I mean, speaking about the pace, some drivers are running a half a second slower than their fastest times currently, and Others around 3 to 4 tenths slower than their fastest time. So drivers are trying to figure out how to pace themselves with the same notion, recognizing this track can be very brutal on your tires if you're not careful. We haven't never seen a driver ultimately dominate a race here at Nashville Superspeedway yet. It's usually a toss-back between two drivers that lead a majority of the race, and the other one just behind on leading a lot of laps. So I'm not surprised to see the switch of Thomas Ogle and Diego Valle. Might be seeing a lot more of that once pit stops are done. With the group being up front, our top 6 all within a second of one another. And with the closer they get, the more pressure for our front 2 of how do they want to react. Kyle McCoy, Chris Worrell, and others closing in on this gap.
And that was the interesting thing is we saw Ogle, Valle, when Ogle was in a good sizable gap. Those two got to battling, and look how close it's brought everybody right into each other. So this is going to be fun to watch here and see who saved what. You know, it's going to come down to that. You know, it's normally green flag runs here at Stars and Stripes. You got to be good on the long runs like we were talking about. Well, we're starting to near that portion of the run, 16 laps into a run. About 10 laps from now, we're going to be about the halfway point of that run, and we'll really see who has what.
Yeah, who's going to be active on trying to move forward with those tire-saving moves. Drivers that have already made some big moves. That's back in 15, 16, and 17, where we have the likes of Jason Gratton up 5 positions, Dylan Grimm, and we up that 7 positions in 16th. Those drivers in the middle of the pack trying to gain what they can now because they're already almost 5 seconds off of our leader. More and more that they get stuck behind James McRae, Christian LaRoche, might be seeing that these drivers losing too much time on the drivers ahead of them.
Those seconds could be critical for the end of this race, even critical for strategy calls. So they know they can't lose too much time right now. Grimm trying to drive around the outside of Gratton as Gratton's just going to hand it over to him. Grimm is going to take over that 15th position, and Grimm, quite the job here climbing through the field for that 23. Expect to see maybe him have a little opportunity here on McRae as he had a good run off of 4.
23 machine setting up on the 17 and trying to move forward up 8 positions. The biggest mover so far is Dylan Grimm, qualified only back at 23rd spot. Was not able to get that second lap into a quick stint. I believe he brushed the wall during qualifying. That really killed the momentum for Grimm, but the race pace is here, running almost identical times to our leader of Diego Valle is Grimm currently, even with having a slower driver in front of him, and McRae loose off the exit of turn 4. Thought there was an opening big enough for Grimm, and I think Grimm's going to take it. He will, showing the indication he wants the inside, but not able to get to the quarter panel. He'll be losing ground here as Jason Gratton, better entry in the exit. Is the fight between the 23 and the 8.
This is when it's so tough, when everything's so stacked up. You try to go make a pass on the driver ahead of you, you get checked up by them. That slows you up into the driver behind you. So you really have to be smooth with your passing. You cannot take too erratic of opportunities. You got to know it's going to be a good option because it can really backfire on you quickly when you have 3 drivers like that stacked up behind Grimm.
23, about to be 21 laps in as the 23 machine setting up for the pass. We're going to move back up front because there's battling going on for second place. Kyle McCoy, Diego Valle, Thomas Ogle right on top of one another for first, second, and third. And I'm curious on what it's like for these drivers as there's been another swap for that lead position with Ogle gained by Diego Valle. The 7 of Kyle McCoy. I want to get on board. What is it like? Well, we'll take that back instead. We got a caution. Brian Chu and Brian, they're going to be as well, Brian Burchett caught up to bring out our first caution of the day. And Zach, it took 3 whole races to get the first caution. Wild to think it was the first time they were here when they had their first ever caution at Nashville. This is technically the second ever caution at this track.
That is wild. So, yeah, I mean, they broke a little bit of a trend there, but, you know, it's to be expected. At some point, you cannot be perfect here when you're racing cars at this high of a speed and this high of a level competition-wise. So, tough break for those drivers. Looks like Burchett and Chu, they're getting into it, and just a simple spin with 2 drivers battling for position farther back in the field.
Looking like for the 18, you're going to see just dive bomb from absolutely nowhere. Gets onto the apron, shoots the 18 back up to the 33, and bringing out her first caution of the day. A very aggressive move by Brian Chu there. They were battling for 25th position, and that looked like a desperation type of a dive bomb move The A-team was hoping not to fight anymore with that of Burchett. As we look back, I mean, that's a car length and a half, maybe even 2 car lengths the A-team just sent to the inside.
Yeah, that was a sin, definitely for sure. And it's one of two things. Either it was a very very aggressive move from Chu, and he just kind of got in there too deep, or he just did not expect Burchett to be checking up that fast, and he looked like he just tried to not run in the back of him, drove down to that bottom lane and hit that apron, and of course got up into him. But yeah, very aggressive move. But you can see here everybody being aggressive because they're heading to pit road and getting some tires.
All drivers hitting pit road for tires and fuel, and having that now extra set that drivers were given again. Before tonight, drivers were given only a total of 3 extra sets in pit road to work with. Tonight, they've got 4, and the battle off in pit road goes to Thomas Ogle, 3 wide for second place. Diego Valle is going to win that position. It's Cal McCoy who will be the loser, falling to 4th. But Zach, the extra tire set, what a change. It's going to help this field out on having these options, like to take tires now.
It's going to be huge, Sam. It gives more opportunity for strategy, in my opinion. I mean, I liked when we did have limited sets of tires because it makes you have to be very, very conservative with those tires. But at the same time, I like when you have a mix of where, yes, you can risk it to go put the new tire set on, but if you use that extra tire set that you have, you could be in trouble at that point. So I like the call from the admin crew here. Add a set of tire, and we'll see what that's going to do to the strategies now here.
And with some drivers able to move up in positions, Dylan Grimm able to grab a couple of extra spots as Rob Sherwood, Ryan Chu, and Brian Burchett both spending a little bit of extra time getting some damage repairs for themselves. And getting damage here, Zach, I mean, that Ryan Chu, Brian Burchett incident, I think that was probably the best contact you could have asked for between the two, just bumping into one another's side and just sliding. Because I think if Chu ran into the back of Burchett, it would have been Chu really dealing with that front end damage and potentially engine damage that could have been hurting him for all night long.
You're exactly right, because the one thing you can take, even being in that incident, is the fact that if you didn't get the required damage or you didn't get anything to knock the toe out, nothing suspension wise, engine related wise, then you get the pit road, you get all the optional time that you have given to you by iRacing for the damage you have on the car. These things fix perfect. They literally pull the fender right out. It's almost like you got a whole brand new fender back on the car. So just having that cosmetic damage can be a lengthy time of fixing, but once it is fixed, you will have the ability to get back into that race and have a strong competitive car. So it is a definite thing with this car that you got to just survive. You cannot get that major required damage, because if you get that, then you're in real big trouble. But if you stay away from that required damage flag, usually you can recover.
Try to recover and get yourself set up like the drivers are currently, as we're stacking and getting the 1 to go indicator that we're going to go back to green flag racing. And as we're pacing this lap, gives us time to shout out one of the major sponsors here at the Stars and Stripes Racing Series, being ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Most people just listen to the sounds that they have. They don't get immersed fully. And with iRacing during the pandemic, heard a lot from the pro drivers saying, I felt like I wasn't getting enough information, used to feeling the sounds instead of just hearing them and feeling how the car is moving. Well, that's what ButtKicker gives you. It's a solid mass that attaches to your racing rig, allowing you to feel when your tires are sliding, when you're hitting bumps, and also any other sounds to give you that more of immersed feelings. Go to ButtKicker and get your gamer tuned today. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing. As the drivers enter into turn number 3, Thomas Ogle, Diego Valle going to be the top 2 drivers. Chris Worrell, Cal McCoy going to be up front with Joshua Robinson trying to make his way forward. That's going to be your top 5 drivers. Biggest mover so far, Dylan Graham, all the way back in the middle of the field. Had a couple of other drivers major losses, but top 5, been practically the top 5 all night long. As we start lap number 27 into the restart zone, and we're back to green flag action here at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Ogle with an amazing start, able to get a really good gap there. As Valle going to fight strong here with Worrell, and these two, they didn't have no love lost from each other throughout the past week. We'll see how they race around each other here.
Feeling like they weren't giving each other enough space, some bad moves collecting into one another. And I know for Chris Worrell, feeling like there was intentional contact between these two drivers in the past, but both having very different exits out of four. Diego Valle tight off the corner. World getting very loose, but they keep it side by side even with the lost time. It's Kyle McCoy that has to just watch this duel and cross his fingers. He's following the right driver.
He's trying to find the way through for sure. And right now, it looks like he picked the right lane, but I don't know if Valle like he was going to cover that off, but then he noticed he was not clear and really had to take a sharp turn to the right not to wreck himself off of Kyle McCoy's nose.
And the rare moments that we talk about the way drivers race. Usually when we talk about iRacing, drivers are running with a steering wheel. Diego Valle, he gets to get knowledge from his teammate, June White, who runs on a controller. And sometimes when you got drivers that have that different racing styles, it can give you that inputs of how to react. Diego Valle quick with the wheel and quick to go to the inside, not wanting to lose third place as easily as he did.
Definitely not wanting to lose that positioning because he was strong there, even though losing the lead from Thomas Ogle before that caution came out, but still was strong, a strong second place. And right now, he's seeing those top two kind of drive away at the moment, but he cannot get, too caught up in this battle with Kyle McCoy. He can't burn his equipment up just trying to run these guys down. He's got to hold these tires together for a long run.
You're going to be seeing the 68 still to the inside, not fully clear now, will be. Kyle McCoy just settles in, Josh Robinson as well. Everyone single filed out into your traditional Nashville Superspeedway racing. Yes, with the name of Superspeedway, you'd expect to see 2-3 wide pack racing, like to see at Daytona and as well at Talladega. But Nashville Superspeedway grabbing the name because of Nashville Fairgrounds, a much shorter track compared to Nashville Superspeedway. Because it's a bigger course, it gave the name of Superspeedway, but Zach, this course, so much more about single file racing and patience that sometimes passing never feels like the name of the game.
It really is that way here. It's tough to pass, man. And it's mostly personally down to the factor this track's very, very one route. Turn 1 and 2, you have a little bit of option of running a little higher line off the exit, but most drivers you're going to see are going to enter high and turn down low. 3 and 4, you're going to see pretty much everybody. If you're making good lap time, you're right on that bottom lane. You're nowhere near up near them seams because the grip is just right down there near that yellow strip. And it's tough to make passes when that's where the grip is all in one space. But I will say, when you get to the inside of somebody, it does make that opportunity of passing that much easier because this track is a bottom dominant track.
As the drivers are trying to make their way forward, last season's champion Andrew Hess has been running very consistent the last couple of weeks. Feels like he's getting back to that championship form. It's just the qualifying has been the issue for the 54 machine. Still stuck in the middle of the pack, but as drivers that I think are good to have around you, knowing we still got plenty of racing action. Aaron Hale, known in the past seasons for a driver that doesn't qualify well, but always knows how to get up front in the top 10 at the end of the day. And a new driver that kind of can take that crown, Adam Petty, right now in 15th position. His 49 has been known to make his way into the top 15. He's done so already, and watch out, he might try to climb in the top 10. He's battling for 16th on screen.
And this is going to be Jason Gratton here diving to the inside of Joshua Altice here. As Altice going to fight strong on that outer groove and going to have the run off. And it's like Gratton's just going to have to wait a few more corners to have that opportunity again. But just shows you it is tough to make passes work here. And if you get to the inside of somebody, you really got to make sure you get a good drive off the corner, or they're going to clear you down that front straightaway. As now it's going to be Gratton setting up, trying to get a run again. But if he makes a mistake, just like we've seen earlier from Grimm, McRae is going to be there just to take advantage of it, and that's what it's like when you're racing in a stacked up traffic focus.
And James McRae, we talked about having a mistake on the inside. Well, McRae had one about 8 laps ago that has forced him back to where he's at now. At one moment was battling with Andrew Hess and Trey Jackson for 12th position, but had a slip up that forced him going backwards. So one small mistake could really be costly on multiple positions. Will Bustler, Jonathan Woods going to be battling between the 1, the 14, back for 19th and 20th position. The driver that's lost some of the most positions so far, Derek Offerman in 21st position. He has been trying to find a lot more consistency, and he's been looking quick the last couple of weeks. Here tonight, doesn't look like the comfortability is there for this 20.
Had the great qualifying time to put him 9th, but just did not have the race pace so far. So tough break for him, and look all the way back here to 27th with Robert Sherwood. And Definitely interesting to see Sherwood back here struggling like this. Is again, he did start back in 29th, so he is up 2 positions, but Sherwood is a driver that we've seen in the past in other leagues at Freaky Fast be able to, produce victories. So we'll see if he gets into a better position, but it's George Kovacic, the driver that's next behind him in the 28th position right now, about 2 seconds back off of Sherwood. So these two here, a little bit off that front group.
And then we're right back up front watching Chris Whirl. Once was in second place, but ever got since being passed by Diego Valle. He's been trapped on the outside and going backwards, losing more and more positions as Kyle McCoy takes this spot. And if the 6 can't slot in between the 7 and the 44, Whirl could be going backwards even more as they continue to stay side by side. This 6 just not in a comfortable spot, but almost clear. Bowling sends it down into turn number 1.
And this is why the outside's so tough, because the conveyor belt of drivers just looking to go by, and both drivers there, Scott Rickard and Kyle Bowling, both just driving by. And now look at Ross Tatum with the momentum loss from the 6. Ross Tatum with a huge run here down to the 3. If the 6 doesn't cover off that inside, the 21 might even get there, and he will.
Gonna be just plenty of space to slot a vehicle there, and Ross Tatum, slight wiggle, but continues to stay side by side. And if Whirl can't get to the inside through 1 and 2, could be losing even more positions as Dylan Graham, Zach Kreitz, they're setting up to get the better exit out of turn 2 as they're closing in quickly on the 6 machine.
Wow, that's so tough for Whirl, who was just having a heck of a run there to start this second little run out, and now dropping very much into the clutches. And Grimm, the way he's been coming through the field, this 23 gets another caution, gets caught up into the top 5 at some point. He could have something to say about possibly in this race, because this 23, even like we've seen earlier, when he's got clean track, he produces some of the fastest times out there on the racetrack, and very, very competitive. So let's see what he can do.
Very competitive, and also a driver to get into victory lane in the past, fighting for playoffs. He hadn't been into victory lane 3 times as Dylan Grimm. Last time he was in victory lane, though, was all the way back in season 4 at Talladega. Season 3 was the season that we joined on to start broadcasting Stars and Stripes. Got 2 wins, one of the final 4 contenders is Dylan Grimm. And ever since season 4, it's been trying to find that footing. And tonight, looking great. Zach Kreitz down 5 positions. But this 46 has also been one of the drivers that's been looking quite strong this early portion of the season.
He definitely has, and I tell you what, watch out if we get a major long run here with Kreitz. I feel like he's a driver that's been very, very patient on his tires, and looks like he just holds station. If we get a longer run, I think this 46 could possibly have something to go forward. And the guy behind him, Trey Jackson, also another driver who's dropped and gave back positions. I think giving up positions here in these runs could possibly benefit you if you do have to do the full run. And personally, looking at the way the fuel mileage is mostly going to play out, we still need to make 2 green flag stops in this race if we stay green, and we're going to be looking to go around 41 to 42 laps on each of those runs. So we're about now getting near the halfway point before we start to see pit stops.
And with this field, looking at the lap times of this most recent run for these drivers and the way that some of them started out, it's making sense on drivers that are going backwards compared to those that are going forwards. Touched on that first 20 laps of this race. If you're aggressive on your tires, you're going to be feeling the pain on the long run, and that's exactly what happened to Whirl, who put down the fastest lap of the race when we started on this most recent restart, and other drivers that were trying to compete with the 6 starting to show that weakness as well. As for the battle for the lead, Thomas Ogle still having that lead position for the 11. The question now is for how long, as Diego Valle, Joshua Robinson have been chipping away at this lead very consistently, but the fastest driver of this group is the driver in 4th, being James Lowe.
Lowe is just completely just sneaking up on this front group here. I tell you what, he's just slowly, methodically done it. And I think that's looked even, less of a pace going through the field than what he has in other weeks, where he seems like he's gained a ton of spots and then kind of got to that top 5 and kind of, plateaued out. I like how he slowly just marched his way up and seems, like he said, to be one of the quickest on the racetrack. But right now, it's Ogle who's got the pressure from Valle, who did pass him in the midpoint of that last run. We'll see maybe if that's just a trend that we could see throughout the race, that through the middle portion of the run, Valle strong, but that last half, Ogle hasn't.
And, with other leagues that we cover here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, most of them have stage breaks that kind of give you the split up of getting bonus points while also being able to get some good knowledge in the early portions of a race. Those first 23 laps before the first caution came out, a lot of good information for drivers that maybe were being a little bit too over aggressive, and that's where we're seeing Diego Valle take that knowledge, really utilizing it to the maximum potential here as they're staying close within 2/10. Our top four all within a half a second of one another, and it's the 11 still up front, carrying the torch that he had last week at Bristol, leading the most laps, getting the pole, and dominating into a victory. The timing of the yellows worked out as well for Thomas Ogle, but Zach, the carrying momentum from going from a concrete course to a concrete course and just learning from all the different courses throughout a season, really this 11 is taking that knowledge in.
This is a bad sign for the field, I feel like, because I think there is a lot you can take from Bristol and carry over even to Nashville here with the tire saving and just how you have to drive a concrete surfaces. Ogle, as I say, that is a little bit loose off the exit of 4, but still somehow driving away with that run off the exit. So good job on him. But I more or less just think this is coming down to momentum, and I think he's getting into form again. We've seen it last season. At one point, I think he was the favorite to beat. They're coming down to the end and just couldn't get to that Final Four race, unfortunately, where he would have been definitely a contender. But unfortunately, it was his championship teammate that got it done. But I think this season he could be looking to get back in that same spot as being maybe the favorite.
I mean, Thomas Ogle, you look at the history books of the Stars and Stripes Racing Series, this 11 of all drivers that are active racing career-wise with over that of 20 starts or more. Thomas Ogle comes into tonight's race with 43 starts, and he's got the highest average start of all drivers in the Stars and Stripes Racing Series history books. So 11 knows how to get it done on starting the race on the right foot. Finishing races, he's gotten to victory lane 4 times, and open tonight could be another one to notch onto the belt for Thomas Ogle. But behind him, Diego Valle, the 68, winning back-to-back, Zach, at Michigan and Dover to start this season off. Still a wild one as that of Robinson. Major save by the 30, but it's going to give the opening for James Lowe.
Yeah, here comes James Lowe with that opportunity, and you got to take advantage of it through him. You cannot let the 30, get away with a move like that and not lose a spot. But I think both of them just so loose. This is going to be whoever can put the traction down and just drive off the corners. They're going to be side by side heading down the 1 and 2.
It's all about finding the mistakes. The mistake was made by the 30, but the 99 wanting to grab this position as cleanly as he can. And Joshua Robinson recognizing, hey, if we keep on fighting, Kyle McCoy's going to get back into the mix. As they settle back in line, it's now the attack mode. How do you close in on the front 2 as Thomas Ogle and Diego Valle last lap ran identical lap times?
Wow, that's just showing you how competitive it is here for this top group. And now we'll see what Lowe can do as he's gotten cleared from that 30 machine, and we'll see what he can do by himself. But that last time by, Ogle, the fastest car on the track, I will tell you this much. It is so hard to keep that consistency. It is very, very difficult, and that's why you're going to see, I think, multiple different drivers running the fastest lap here around this group because everybody's just that competitive.
I mean, that competitiveness you're talking about, Zach, I mean, last lap that all drivers just put down, the top 19 drivers are all within 0.2 of one another on each lap they're putting in. We're 30 laps into this stint, and having the top 20 drivers this close on time is ridiculous to see, just showing that the plateau area for this drivers is going to be massive, and the tire differential at the end of this race could be the big thing that gets you into victory lane. As you see the 6, Chris Worrell hoping to fight back into the mixture after losing over 8 positions from that last restart that we had 20 laps ago. The 6 still not able to move forward. Ross Tatum and this 6 machine still side by side through 1 and 2.
Oh, and the 6 just barely going to clear the 21 here off the exit of 2, and we're all trying to gain back what he lost, like you said there, Sam, but it's going to be just so much lost that I don't know if he'll ever be able to gain back all that he needs, but definitely looking a little bit stronger here now as he's gotten into the farther part of the run. But this is just so fun to watch because, you see drivers who catch each other and pass them, and it seems like more drivers lay over in this car, and I think what it has to do with is you can catch back up the zone and not really have to worry about the dirty air as much as what we've seen on the cars, where track position is so vital. This car, you can give up spots and not lose time, racing someone just because it's not really going to hurt you to have someone right in front of you.
Yeah, that is should not be for yourselves. But tonight's race is going to be the 7th race of the season here at Nashville. It's been a good one so far, and we are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, should be around the window of green flag pit stops. Who will be the first early stopper? Who can extend the fuel? We will find out as you're watching the Hot Dog 200 here at Nashville Superspeedway for the Stars and Stripes Racing Series. We will be back right after this and give you more racing action here at Nashville. They're 5 wide behind her pit.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. Look at it, that's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes.
Oh, no, Carter gets wrecked. It's going to be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity diving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes. Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck it.
Oh, they wrecked. They wrecked each other. The top two bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they got to be careful. Oh no, the 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stars and Stripes Racing Series, the Hot Dog 200 at Nashville Superspeedway. Pit stops underway for drivers. Some have already missed pit road entry. Others have already made their first stop of the day under green flag conditions, as it's going to be Diego Valle making his stop currently. Drivers that have made mistakes, that of Ross Tatum missing his pit entry, giving up over 5 seconds, then coming in the next lap. Very hurtful for himself, as 68, hoping not to make the mistake. Sliding through your box could be very time-consuming on trying to recover. Solid stop, though, into the box for the 68 machine. But Thomas Ogle got the pole, been the most dominant driver, carrying the momentum that he grabbed from last week at Bristol. The 11 still leading the way as James Lowe, Joshua Robinson, trying to close in on the gap.
This is impressive to see some of these lap times. They're so close to really our top 6. I mean, there is literally a half a tenth separating our top 6 right now. So this is impressive to see right at the edge of the pit window, and that's the key. You got to be fast right before you hit pit road. I seen Valle there losing multiple spots right before pit road. That's a tough thing to do right before you hit pit road, because you know that's just time lost for the next start of your next run that you're going to have to make up by doing the undercut, which a few guys have done. I'm interested to see when do these drivers up front finally flinch to come to pit road, because they're giving up a good chunk of time each and every lap to stay out.
Yeah, and giving up all that time for themselves, but we're touching on the fact that this race, expecting it still to be a 2-stop race, is going to be the first of 2 green flag stops if we continue to stay green. And this could be a crucial one, and drivers trying to stretch it out as long as they can, maybe shorten the next stop if possible. As one of the biggest movers of the day, Dylan Grimm coming into pit road for the 23 machine, and as well hoping to join him. Could be some other front runners, as over the radio been getting very vocal of drivers saying they're coming into pit road. And the top runner of all of those, Kyle McCoy in the 7 in 4th place, expecting to come into pit road this time by, which is going to force the 44 Kyle Bowling have to go a little bit wider than he was hoping for. As get a sense on the hood cam, there's your line. You have to hit pit limiter for the pit speed being 45 miles per hour.
And it's tough to do. It's so easy to make a mistake, especially under green flag stops at a track that you might not have the most experience in practice. That's one thing as a driver I know. If you haven't done the practice of getting prepared for a green flag stop and you go into that first one, it's always nerve-wracking. So hopefully these drivers have practiced that and have had some time. As you see Ogle here getting himself into pit road, our leader are going to come down. As looks like Robinson and Lowe, though, stay out. So leader coming down while our second and third place stroke cars stay out.
And also behind our leader, Kyle Bowling, following suit with the 11 machine. A much more aggressive entry. Actually gained a lot of time for themselves with Lowe. Robinson continue to fight back and forth. 30 machine no longer wants to just sit and wait, hoping to lead a lap, get that bonus point. Is Joshua Robinson who makes the pass. The 33 moving high because pit road is all for Lowe, who drifts his way into the entry.
And it's a tough entry, like I said. So, I mean, you probably...
Heading, contact as he was trying to come into pit road. More drivers pile in. Diego Valle involved.
Big hits from all around. Like you said, Valle was involved with that. He got into the back of Trey Jackson, but it all started right around this 49 who was coming to pit road. I don't know if there was communication on the radio or not from Pettit there that he was coming down, but it looks like he got contacted before Aaron Hill. And this is during the pit sequence, Sam. This is the worst thing possible for a lot of drivers.
Thomas Ogle going to be a lap down and many of others. But it all, like I said, Pettit trying to come into pit road. And communication always has to be on point with entry, because of the way this track is. The entry point when drivers are slowing down is the preferred lane to be in, exiting at turn 4. So if you don't communicate you're coming into pit road, driver in front of you, behind you might not realize it could be coming in at full song, clipping, spinning, and bringing out the big one here this evening. Our second caution of the night. Diego Valle, Trey Jackson involved, as well as Ryan Lynch and Jonathan Woods going to be the heavy contenders, as Hale and other drivers really messed up in this wreck, as the 4 of Hale was the main driver involved. Same with Trey Jackson. Just not a lot of space to go for themselves after the contact initially.
Yeah, just coming to the pit road entry there, just the 49. I mean, it looked like he was completely committed to it. And the 4 I don't think had any clue that he was coming to pit road. And it was just a heavy rear end collision. And unfortunately, like you said, Trey Jackson got caught up in that. And we'll get to see right here with this replay what exactly happened. There's the 49 right ahead. You can see that flame going on the tailpipe. That means he's off the gas. And boom, right there, the 4 running in the back of him is more piling by the 31 there. And he's going to take a hit to the 14. So tough position for a lot of drivers coming through there on fresh tires as the pit sequences were happening.
Extremely tough for the field, and now with pit stops going to be made, a complete change on where drivers are placed out on track. George Kovacic staying out, hoping to lead a lap, get a bonus point there, but should be coming into pit road as George Kovacic has yet to pit since our initial caution, all the way back in lap 23. The rest of the field, a lot of drivers taking the wave around, going to be on older tires, and I'm looking at the grouping that's going to be a part of the drivers hoping to take the wave around. And I mean, Zach Diego Valle going to be trapped in this group. James Lowe also going to take the wave around. Kyle McCoy, and ultimately as well, Thomas Ogle. They're all going to be trapped in they're going to be trapped in traffic while they're trying to close back up front.
This is such, you got to feel for those drivers. I mean, the lucky thing for like someone like Lowe is he's going to be ahead of all of them and have the freshest tires on. So very, very good for him, but huge loss for Ogle, Kyle McCoy, huge losses for Valle and them who pit earlier. They're going to be at a much bigger deficit with those older tires taking the wave here.
And drivers are waiting to see where they need to be placed exactly for this run, as Joshua Robinson, Chris Worrell going to be the front runners once we get stacked up and back to green flag racing. Scott Rickard's going to be in third. Fourth goes to Andrew Hess. James McRae fifth. Rob Sherwood's going to be in sixth position. Brian Chu, Brian Lynch, Aaron Hale, and Ross Tatum going to be our top 10 drivers on this restart. And a very bizarre incident that was under the middle of green flag pit stops with so many drivers trapped one lap down at the time of this yellow, able to take the wave around because everyone that was on the lead lap had to come into pit road. But it's going to cause a lot of drivers now, old tires, some on just 1 to 2 lap old tires, others dealing with 8 to 13 lap old tires. And it's going to be a long race for the majority of them. And Diego Valle, who was caught up in that wreck, was hunting for a top 3 finish here tonight, has to come into pit road and will stay 1 lap down as the 68.
Well, if you ever wanted an example of how a caution can change the whole complexion of a race, well, there it was, because this is huge. So much mixed bag of strategy when it comes to tires now with the drivers taking waves here. There's been some people who have had huge come-ups from this. I mean, Joshua Robinson, he was already in that top 3, so he is definitely looking to be in a good spot. But Worrell, Rickard, Hess, McRae, Sherwood, the top 6 there, all benefiting so much. Even Aaron Hale, Brian Lynch, John with the Woods, George Kovacic. I mean, it's huge benefits all around. And even guys like Ross Tatum, who, pit early, they got back on the lead lap before by pitting that early. So, it's one of the benefits of pitting early. You can sometimes get back on that lead lap. Yeah, you had to use the extra set, but now at least you didn't have to take the wave there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Take the wave, you have to be at the tail end of the group, and as well, you have to run down and catch up to the pack. As there were so many drivers taking the wave around, they might all finally catch up to the rear end of this group by the time that we go green, because the pace car is pulling off. It's time for the Honky Tonk 200 at Nashville Superspeedway. Race number 7 of the season is back to green flag action into the restart zone. Joshua Robinson, Chris Worrell wait until the very last moment to take off. And here we go. It's the 30 clean launch, and now it's the battling for third place.
Let's see how hard Robinson pushes. He's always known to save a lot. We'll see if he wants to go lead this race, or does he give up to lead to someone behind us. Right now, Worrell's got his hands full, as it's Scott Ricker with a huge run down the back straightaway, able to get alongside and have the inside here in 3 and 4, the preferred groove.
Scott Rickard, he was comfortably trying to move his way into 7th and 8th position. Well, now the 05 into 2nd place, past the 6th of Worrell. Driver having to come into pit road, having a drive-through penalty. Is going to be the 49 of Adam Pettit. But the rest of the field up to green flag racing, and this lead group all are curious, how are they going to run down Josh Robinson? Because none of Robinson's true contenders in these first half of this race are up here with the 30 machine, except for Worrell, who is taking a very passive approach on the attack currently.
And I tell you, when that happens as a driver like Joshua Robinson, you see all the guys that you were battling are now caught having to take a wave and so much track position loss. The confidence that you get from that is just, I mean, it's overwhelming. So I'm sure this 30 is going to drive very, very good right now because it really helps your mental when you know, hey, man, I have the edge over the guys that I'm racing now, and I just really need to hit my marks and continue to stay, focused forward as Robinson usually always is. So you just can't get too overworked up, but definitely got to build some confidence knowing that the group he was racing has had tough luck.
And drivers that are trying to get on the move to get forward after losing so much ground going to be Trey Jackson as well as Jonathan Woods, Kyle McCoy. They're stuck in the middle of the pack. Thomas Ogle, who is the dominator for the first half of this race, time of the yellow, he is forced all the way back to 19th position, Zach, and in the heart of the absolute chaos back here in the back half of the field.
He has got to be gutted right now, man. This is a terrible feeling to be in because much older tires than most of the drivers ahead of him. And it's just very, very tough when you're at a tire disadvantage. We talked about how competitive the lap times were for majority of that first run. Even though Thomas Ogle was the leader of majority of that run, having the older tires, he just is not able to be quicker just due to the factor of how competitive this field is and the tires making that big of a difference. So Ogle right now is just going to have to stay methodical and get what track position he can and hope maybe at some point he sees a yellow flag, because right now if it stays green, there is no way he's driving back to a victory.
It's not looking hopeful at this moment as George Kovacic going to be staying high, trying to give space for the 11 to make the move. Update on drivers that pulled into pit road late as Woods, a bad exit out of the corner, going to be caused to be side by side with the 11, who continues to just chip away each and every position so far. But Adam Pettit, who had a black flag on the restart, pulled into pit road, has called it a night. And before we even went green, Diego Valle as well has called it a night. We're left with 26 drivers out on track, 24 on the lead lap. And it's Joshua Robinson leading the way with Scott Rickard behind him. The rest of the field hoping maybe a caution could come out to reset where everyone is at.
They're definitely hoping for that for sure, Sam. I know a lot of guys are saying that right now while they're driving these race cars, but the ones up front, they're definitely not hoping that. So it's about a half and half split, I'm sure, out there on the hopes meter. But right now, checking out Kyle McCoy, I mean, he's making his way up to 13th, and that's impressive because pretty much on a lap older tires than even Thomas Ogle. So Kyle McCoy doing a great job, and just doing that undercut, he was able to restart ahead of Ogle. So that's a huge benefit also. So we'll see how well these guys can make progress, but the farther they get up, the newer the tires that are ahead of them. So it's going to get tougher and tougher.
And it's going to be even more tougher on the fact that looking at the last lap race pace, Kyle McCoy, next driver that he looks faster than would be Ross Tatum in 10th position. That's only 3 drivers further up. The 7 has been faster than everyone else, anywhere from 2 to 3 tenths faster than 7, just because of having that tire advantage. Crazy to see the crazy advantage, but the 3-time champ knows how to get it done of Kyle McCoy. He's open for another win here. Again, he has won every Nashville Superspeedway race there has been in the Stars and Stripes Racing Series. He never has gotten the pole. He's always had to fight and claw to get to victory lane, and he's going to have to do it here tonight if he wants a chance to continue the streak that we've seen other streaks already broken here tonight. Could this one of Kyle McCoy's win at Nashville be broken as well?
It's looking to be that way. It's definitely on that trend of heading towards that direction, but anything is possible. This is racing. You never can say it's over till that white flag flies and you're completely out of it by then, because if you got an opportunity when the white flag flies, you're still in it, man. It's really, that's all that's in it for racing. And right now, McCoy just doing a really good job of getting by guys with fresher tires, and that's all he can really ask to do, as he's been able to climb up to 11th. But now, like we said, this is where the work really gets cut out for you, because this is the top 10 drivers up ahead. All of them have fresher tires, and all of them are going to be very well paced.
Trying to make their way forward to see Brian Lynch have one of his better runs here tonight with the time of the yellow, allowing the 24 and the 23 to be round one another. As Lynch is, like I said, trying to have one of his better runs of the season. Brian is one of the main founders of this series. He's been here since season 1 and is hoping to continue with some good runs. His best finish is 3rd, but at a non-Superspeedway track, 4th was his fastest. But that was only back in season 1. I think of recent seasons, it's been tough for Brian Lynch. He's going to go high and let Grim go on by.
Looks like Grim's going to get that job done. And Grim got some of the oldest tires around of really anybody. So definitely doing a great job for him, as he even pit earlier than Kyle McCoy. So At 23, it's been showing all night. He's been able to really make passes and get it done. But Trey Jackson here, he's going to take opportunity and follow through that 23 and make the pass on Brian Lynch. And that's kind of what it seemed like tonight. It's tough to pass, but if you can get to someone's inside, it seems like you can work them over.
Yeah, and I think if you also show you're willing to go to the inside and the driver behind sees that in his mirror, they seem to be pretty respectful on, okay, I'm going to give you just enough space to make the pass if you want to go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to pinch and cause it to be slightly difficult, or just back out of the corner immediately and more worried about their own tires than trying to hold each position, unless it's for the lead. That seems like the clean air is the most comfortable place so far. Ross Tatum, Kyle McCoy, 9th and 10th place battle now on screen with Brian Chu falling to 11th. But Zach, something that we were talking about with the timing of the caution, these drivers now are going to be having to think this race is a one-stop for Pier. You've already ran about 17 laps for drivers that came into pit road under this most racing yellow. Others going to be a little bit sooner than them. When would be the best time to come to pit road? Is it stretching it out until you're empty, or is it pitting early and trying to salvage something?
So personally right now, looking at it at lap 90 as we're watching this battle here on the screen before you're trying to go forward, but you know, it's in a tricky spot because you can personally pit within about 10 laps from now and make it to the end of this race. But I do think that's a little bit too early because we've seen what happened there last time. If you pit at the wrong sequence when people start to come to pit road, that's a very likely time that yellow flag can fly, and we could see people have definitely some issues for themselves. And do you go down there and pit, you can get trapped easily lapped down like a lot of these guys did that had to take the wave. So I think you may see others stretch it out. I think we'll see pit road really get busy right around 105 to 110. That area is going to be the stronger point, and I think more closer to that 110 mark with about 40 to go.
It's going to get exciting once pit stops are underway as Ross Tatum, Brian, that of Dylan Grimm going to be running around one another, with Thomas Ogle trying to make the pass by that of Brian Chu in the 11. He's been aggressive, making this pass for himself, and I was hoping that maybe we could get it on board with Kyle McCoy earlier. Let's try it on Thomas Ogle, see what it's like for the driver that was the fastest and dominating this race in the first half, now working his way through traffic. And Zach, a lap around Nashville Superspeedway.
Here we go into turn 1 and 2, and you can see a very little bit of an arcing line, but you want to get low here because it's very important to get a straight run down this back straightaway to have a good launch up off as he looks at Trey Jackson. Now down to 3, much tighter on the entry. Got to get immediately to that bottom and just hug that yellow curbing on the inside. And look, Trey Jackson walks up the track, and look at the run that the 11 of Thomas Ogle is going to have just by holding that bottom groove and getting a better run off. He's going to be side by side heading into 1 now.
Down into turn number 1 as that better run and keeping the momentum side by side are both drivers. And again, a couple of different views of how this race is going to be here tonight. I mean, this showing the entry points. I know for myself personally running at Nashville Superspeedway, this track is so deceptive at times. Like I said, runs like a mile and a half, but actually in distance slightly shorter. But the entry points, with it being concrete, you expect maybe you have to be a lot more gentle on the entry of the corner. But at the entry points, you can be so aggressive at this track driving into 1 and 2.
It is very surprising, personally. 1 and 2, you can attack. That's really why you see these guys take these wide sweeping arcs into 1 and 2. And what that comes down to is just the angle of attack that you have in the entry to turn 1. With these D-shaped, tracks like this at Nashville, you have that front straightaway where it's not a straightaway. It's literally got a turn right there in the tri-oval, as they would say. And that is going to affect the entry to 1. It's going to open it up and make it a little bit of a wider entry, where when you come into 3, it's going to be very similar to what turn 2 is. Very tight on the exit, very tight on the entry to 3, and very open on the exit of 4. So when you have these D shapes and these tri-ovals that have these dog legs in them, they can add major character to a racetrack. And this is a track that the 2 different sides of the racetrack race completely different. Turn 1, you really attack, while turn 3, you've really got to back up while you attack the exit of 4.
I mean, it's interesting how this track is just allowing these drivers to have those opportunities on how to attack, but also try to just run your own laps. As we look at battling for 7th place, Aaron Hale holding back Rob Sherwood, Kyle McCoy, and as well Dylan Grimm in the mixture, is the one of Will Bustler being 1 lap down, trying to stay 1 lap down. trying to unlap himself if possible, but trying to make sure he's the first driver one lap down to get that lucky dog spot. Don't want to get too overzealous here, because if you do cause the caution, you get that incident point, you are losing that golden ticket of the lucky dog spot to get back on the lead lap is the one. But showing that there's speed in Will Butzler's machine, and he certainly has been showing it throughout this week on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, as you get to see the one also running on Tuesday nights. He's been strong there, trying to carry that momentum to Thursdays.
Definitely, for sure. Will Butzler, always a strong driver, and I think Thursdays have been kind of a struggle for him to start this season. So, and it's been even surprising because just even racing myself with Will and calling races that Will has done, he's always a driver that seemed to be very, very strong on long runs. I feel like this car maybe hasn't figured out the long run yet, because that is definitely his strong suit as a driver. Once he gets that figured out, this one is going to be definitely one to contend for, as he's trying, like you said, to get this lucky dog. But like you said, he's got to be careful. Cannot cause an incident or cause a wreck, because you get that incident point, you ain't getting that lucky dog. You'll be handing that over to Brian Burchett.
Fighting back and forth as Dylan Grimm gets by Aaron Hale. Hale now is going to fall back into just outside of, or right around that top 10 position. Driver hitting pit road, a very early stop. Joshua Altis, one of the first contenders that make a pit stop under our green flag conditions the first go around. Now going to be in pit road getting service done for the 94 for himself. Curious on how this extreme early stop is going to be helping him moving forward. But speaking about moving forward, Chris Worrell has now just moved up to second place.
Worrell definitely having a great run here, and I mean, excellent job by him. And you know, after the positioning he kind of was in before all that caution played out, he's definitely benefited from all of this. Was probably right side of a fringe of a top 5 outside of that, but right now fighting for a top 3 podium. And now go see if he can maybe try to track down Robinson. But again, like I said, Robinson's got to have so much confidence, because again, these are guys that he wasn't even racing before. The guys that he was racing were all trapped a lap down and had to take that wave. So Robinson definitely took advantage of that, as he's built over a second and a half of that.
It's a massive gap, and he's going to try to hold on to it as we're in the final third of tonight's race. As we will take one of our final commercial breaks of this evening. When we come back, it'll be green flag pit stops. Who's got the strategy call to get yourself into victory lane? But tonight's been a good one so far. Just a couple of cautions, and they have been doing well to make sure we stay green. And we will be back again in just a few moments to see those green flag pit stops.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
outside line for the second spot, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Zach Hall up in the booth. Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background. You're watching the Stars and Stripes Racing Series, race number 7, the Honky Tonk 200. The battle for second is on screen with Chris Whirl, Scott Rickard, but green flag pit stops underway. Last time we were in this scenario, it was a caution that snuffed out a lot of drivers to trap them 1 lap down, and causing a lot of issues for when to come into pit road. Currently, a lot of drivers have already made their stops. Thomas Ogle has made his pit stop, and we're waiting for our front 3, being Joshua Robinson, Chris Whirl, Scott Rickard. When do they stop, and will this battle for second be what hurts this group currently?
It could. It really could be, Sam. So we'll see what happens here, what the decisions are, because it's really been matching lap times with the leader up front for them. So they got to make a decision. Do they want to undercut, or do they try to overcut them? I mean, it's getting into the point now where I felt like 41 was kind of the perfect point to pit from when it was with 41 laps to go, and we're well past that now. So we'll see when they do elect to do it. But I think if you're Robinson, he's looking to wait for the last possible moment, while these two right here are waiting for him to flinch.
Currently, our top 11 still need to come into pit road. Joshua Robinson, Scott Rickard, and there's Chris Whirl into pit road for himself, the 6th machine, the first of our top 3. Other drivers following suit, going to be Will Bustler joining, and Trey Jackson going to make their stops as the field gets prepared to finish out a full green flag pit stop. But still, the reason why Joshua Robinson, Scott Rickard, and others continue to stay out is because they're so concerned on if a caution flag comes out, that puts you in the control seat for the next restart. That's what put Robinson in this position. But how do you make that choice? It's going to be a tough one to make overall. Also, we want to give a huge shout out to the last sponsor of tonight's race, being Next Level Racing. If you want to elevate your racing to the next level, make sure you get yourself a racing rig. They've got budget racing rigs and also have extreme built out ones that are going to help you feel more engaged and level up your racing for iRacing or any other comfort. Go over to nextlevelracing.com and check out their selection today. As Joshua Robinson hits pit road, the first of our front 2, as Scott Rickard continues to stay out for another lap. Zach, this could be a winning decision for the 05, banking on more of the tire advantage, then deciding to just come into pit road.
He also may be banking on maybe getting a yellow flag here. I mean, we saw last time the benefit of staying out and not pitting under green. These guys benefited huge from it. Maybe Rickard hoping that same situation will play out, but looks to continue on for a whole nother lap. He's definitely either banking on fresher tires to be able to come back around, or a yellow flag to help him out here for his sake, but still nonetheless in a good positioning. And same for Robert Sherwood. I mean, he's 9 seconds behind Scott Rickard, but Sherwood 26 spots up. If he's able to come out here with a top 5 or even a top 10 tonight, that's a huge run for Robert Sherwood.
Certainly is. Over the radio, Scott Rickard notifying he's coming into pit road, so drivers around will not get in the 05, but the entry is still difficult. Losing the rear end for a quick second, hard on the brakes. And Scott Rickard right on the edge before hitting pit road, but Rob Sherwood wasn't able to show any interest to go to pit road, will stay high and goes another lap around here at Nashville.
And that was a tough lap for him because he was getting passed by all the drivers on fresh tires. He had to run the top groove. I mean, he was 6/10 off the pace just that lap, so I don't think he can wait too much longer to come down to pit road. He might, again, like to be doing this just to see if he can catch that yellow. But I think at this point, you're losing just too much time for Sherwood to stay out.
Currently, our top four still out on old tires and being coming to pit road, and we almost had a yellow flag come out as Jason Bratton on the backstretch having a scare for the 8 machine. But the field is rolling still. Green flag action. Rob Sherwood going to come into pit road this upcoming lap. Said nothing over the radio. Ross Tatum not showing any signs, nor is Brian Lynch or Ryan Lynch. This is getting interesting because for Rob Sherwood, he's pulling the way to over 5.5 seconds. But the other 3 drivers are still right around one another.
Exactly. It is literally very, very close between Tatum, Lynch, and Lynch. So it's going to be fun. But now look, Brian Lynch, the 24, comes down while the 31 continues to stay out. So this group's going to be interesting to see where they all shake out once they hit pit road. But no flinching from them yet up front. I think a lot of these drivers here thinking we can catch that magical yellow. We could be in the same position some of these others will.
Well, drivers that have already made their pit stops, they are battling for 4th on back, being led by the 6th machine of Chris Worrell. James Lowe going to be in 5th, but for how long? Because Joshua Robinson, who's got the freshest of tires of anyone up front in the top 5 to 6 that have already pitted, is going to be making the pass on Lowe immediately. And Joshua Robinson looking to be the heavy favorite if this race stays green, get into victory lane. Well, up front, out of Sherwood, Tatum, Ryan Lynch, they are needing a caution badly because they're running out of time for how long they can stay out there on track.
And also, not only that time, the times they're running on the racetrack, almost in the 32-second bracket. They're losing upwards of almost 2 full seconds here to these drivers on new tires. Every single lap they stay out, you can just add another 2 seconds to a gap they're losing. So it's going to be a huge loss of time for them, not only, but I think right here, again, it's just them thinking about, well, can I just, catch some type of yellow here to help me?
And the reason why we know that these 3 drivers cannot make it as Sherwood stays out for another lap, same for Tatum and for Ryan Lynch, is that we were given the number around 50 to 51 laps was the distance you can go. Anything past that is into the unknown. And Ryan Lynch over the radio coming into pit road. Sounds like Rob Sherwood also coming into pit road. So if they're going to get a caution, they need it badly as Robinson is using up all the track for the 30 machine, brushing the wall at the exit of 4.
He's got to be careful because he's still got to get past Chris Worrell. He does have fresher tires, but cannot be getting into that wall or taking too big a risk because he damaged that car up. He's not going to be in a very good spot to go down there and catch that number 6 machine, who did an excellent job, I must say, getting on the pit road because 2-lap, fresher or older tires from him, and he had a pretty sizable gap on Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent gap to be grabbed as Ross Tatum, the only driver still out on track, needing to come into pit road before he hands the reins over to Chris Worrell. Joshua Robinson, James Lowe on the older tires. He's going to fall back quickly. Same for Kyle McCoy. Scott Rickard to be one of the few drivers that tries to get back into the mix. And for Scott Rickard, looking at lap times compared to himself, Joshua Robinson and Chris Worrell run about 3 to 4 tenths faster than those drivers, and just 3 seconds off to 3.5 seconds off that group. I mean, right now, Zach, Scott Rickard could still be in the fight for at least a top 3 finish right now.
The biggest thing I think going for Scott Rickard is he needs this 6 to be a menace for this 30. He wants him to hold him up as much as possible. That's going to give him the biggest opportunity, and not only opportunity to catch Robinson, but also to catch Worrell if they both race side by side. So right now, if you're Rickard, you're hoping these 2 go to battle. You don't want to see a nice and easy pass for Joshua Robinson because that's just going to make it that much more tougher for him to catch both of the drivers.
Ross Tatum hoping he's got a magical horseshoe to help him out here as Robinson, Worrell still fighting. And Worrell, will he put the blocker? Is he just going to move to the side? aggressively taking the outside, holding back as much as the 6 can. And that's exactly what Scott Rickard is hoping for, continuing to hold off the 30. The question is, for how long? Those pressure tires are going to help out the 30 more here as the run continues on. And kudos to Ross Tatum. He has survived almost 55 laps out there on track.
That is crazy to see right there. I mean, had a few caution laps there to help him, but still stretching it farther than anybody has so far. We'll see how far he can get before he finally does have to come in. But look at this. I mean, with Kovacic right here, this has caught Worrell into a terrible positioning because he's got to block him in the 30. Going to have to go high here. I think he lost his momentum, and now Worrell doing exactly everything Scott Rickard loves to see.
Just continues to block. Hender hurt the speed in the 05, closing in quickly as Ross Tatum has made it into pit road. The caution did not come out. That was necessary, but with going to be 22 laps to go, Chris Worrell is fighting for his life. It looks to be a losing battle, but he's helping the drivers that are behind these two that continue to battle between one another. The gap between the 6 and 30 back to the 05, 3.5 seconds back. That might be too big of a gap, but if Worrell continues to fight like this, we might be seeing a caution.
It very well could be too big of a gap, but like you said, we might get a yellow here with how hard they're racing right now. And Worrell knows he has to make Robinson use his tires. He is at a disadvantage right now. The 30 has been the quicker car in the long run, not only, but also has the fresher tires now. Worrell's got to do everything possible, and I tell you what, that car's getting really wide. It might get a little bit too wide here at some point and get in the wall.
And there's the mistake. Wasn't able to defend on the entry point, and Joshua Robinson needing a clean exit in the 30, has this positioning. He's got the better run. They'll drag race down into turn number 4, where the inside lane's just been too dominant hold back from. And Joshua Robinson in the positioning to take back the lead, but Chris Worrell is not giving up for the 6.
He is not giving up at all, Sam. He is fighting for everything right here, knowing the opportunity available to him. If he can just make this 30 overwork his stuff, maybe these two can fight coming down to the end. But you got to imagine, to make the 30 use his stuff up, you got to use yours also up. That might play into Rickard's hands, who's now moved into third.
Into third place, 3 seconds back. The battle for the lead continues to stay side by side as the 6, the 30, closing in, pinching off the exit. And Joshua Robinson continues to keep the nose ahead as they come across the line. Each lap that ticks away, the tires get worse. And the question then starts to loom for Chris Worrell. He hasn't been able to show any signs that he can complete this pass. It's more of how long can I hurt the 30? And it looks to be that was the chance. As a bad wiggle for the 6, the 30's got the better run. Down into turn number 3, Joshua Robinson is finally fully clear.
Great job by Robinson. Patient, methodical, and just never gave up on the bottom and got it done. Now, let's see what he can do now that he has clear track ahead of him. Nothing to hold him back because he needs to focus forward. Scott Rickard down to 2.7 seconds that last time by. Rickard about 0.2 quicker also. We'll see what he has for these drivers coming to the end.
It's going to be one of the first true opportunities of how fast he is, Joshua Robinson, as he no longer has the 6 to his outside, just on his back bumper. The pressure is still there, but it's going to be the cleanest lap that we're going to see how fast Joshua Robinson. That last time by was a 30.745 compared to Scott Rickard's 30.68. So that's plenty of speed to look to be in Joshua Robinson's hands to try to hold back this gap.
I think he's got it, Sam. Unless something major happens here, Joshua Robinson should have enough pace in hand to hold off this lead. I think the battle where we're going to lay is if Chris Worrell can hold back Scott Rickard. You know, Worrell had to really use those tires. They'll try to hold that 30 off. That 05, he's got the fresher tires, and he's had nobody really to battle. He's just had a clean run up to this point. We'll see if he does have anything. But I tell you what, Worrell, the lap times he's putting in still very, very impressive from the 6 car.
I mean, we saw the plateau area where drivers 20 to 30 laps into a run throughout the whole entire field were running very similar lap times within a couple of laps of one another, and it looks to be showing signs that these lap times plateauing off our top 3. The gap between Scott Rickard's when he came into pit road compared to Chris Worrell is just simply 4 lap difference in tires, but the lap times are almost identical between our top 3.
It's very, very close. And if you're Scott Rickard, you got to use the tire you got. If it's there, you really got to try to use it, because right now the gap is just not closing in, and even the gap for the lead really not even opening up for Robinson. This race far from over really for Robinson, who's now starting to get into lap traffic. He's got a heavy bit of group in front with Brian Burchett and Brian Lynch.
And they are not giving up. The reason why is that Brian Lynch just wanted to make sure he stays on the lead lap. Burchett 2 laps down, so he'll try to get out of the way as cleanly as he can. Chris Worrell not able to get as clean of a pass on the 33. He'll have a much shallower entry, which is going to hurt him off the exit of the corner. Robinson loving how the lap cars have lined up for himself, as Worrell has to fight back, losing a 10th just out of that corner.
It's such a timing thing when you catch lap traffic. If you clear them in the entry, you clear them on the center or the exit, you feel great. And if you get caught up with them side by side and you have to really change up your exit or your entry of the corner, it can be a huge loss of time. Just those hundredths of a second could be the difference between being able to get, back up there to have a shot for Worrell or not having a shot at all, because it's now opened up to a little bit more of a comfortable gap now for that 30, as it's just above 0.3 of a second here, as they're now entering 11 laps to go.
And for Brian Lynch, he might be trying to stay on the lead lap, but he's also trying to catch up to the driver in front of him, which is going to be Christian Loschin, who is a second ahead. But for the 24, having about a 5-lap advantage on tires over a leader, it's what's keeping him in at least a fighting position. But showing maybe the white flag now is Lynch, a high exit point, allowing the 30 to get to the inside. And there's going to be the pass, putting the 24, the first driver, 1 lap down.
Putting him a lap down, and that's good for him because Lynch actually had some pretty good paces. Oh, he might fight back to the outside here, and that'd be worst case scenario for Robinson. But now, look, we're all going to have side by side with him on the exit of 2, and that's not what you want to see with 10 to go. If you're Worrell, you need to be able to get clear of that lap traffic. Just was not able to take advantage of it.
Wasn't able to, and off the exit of turn 4, the gap continues to stay pretty equal distance between first and second. 9 laps to go here in the Honky Tonk 200 at Nashville Superspeedway. The Stars and Stripes Racing Series might be having a new winner in Season 7, as the 30 machine has been having a clean run, staying up front. The timing of the yellow at the halfway point of this race under our first green flag pit stops enabled the 30 to be up front. All of his competition trapped, being a lap down, off sequence. And right now the 30 just banking on this race to stay green. It looks to be victory in hand for Joshua Robinson.
It looks to be that way. He just wants to see a checkered flag, man. That's all this 30 has got to be thinking about. He cannot be looking in the mirror. He's got to be looking all eyes forward, because right now he's opening up the gap and doing exactly everything he needs to do to pull off that victory.
Settle in, make these passes quickly, efficiently, and you've got yourself back in a victory lane fighting for a championship. Don't got to worry about the points anymore, as Joshua Robinson crossed the line. 7 laps to go, and the gap has ballooned out to over a half a second now, as the 3 of Loschin is going to be staying high, allowing Robinson to drive on by cleanly. And now we'll get some fresh air on the 30's bumper, because the next driver is about 4 seconds ahead of him. And Zach, this looks to be the final send-off for the 30.
It definitely looks to be that way, Sam, as he's going to come off a 4 and look up to the flag stand. It's going to be 6 mere laps to go. He just really is ready for this race to get over with. He needs to make sure he gets back to that white flag at least, because you don't want to see anything that has to do with a yellow flag. That would really put a damper on his spirit. But right now down the back straightaway, continuing to open up the gap, as you can see the traffic there. Even Ross Tatum, he's coming up on the fresher tires as he stayed out that long, up in the 19th position. He's going to play a little bit of a factor in this too.
A few times you get to see a driver that's a lap down, unlap himself all on his own, or will he? It's Ross Tatum out into the outside wall. Bad scrape, had to really turn that wheelie off the wall, or at least stays on the racing surface. Will follow in line with the 6, and Ross Tatum setting up to get by second place and hoping to unlap himself to be back on the lead lap. 5 laps to go for Joshua Robinson, and if a yellow flag does come out now, we would be sent into overtime. These drivers will have only one overtime attempt if it's needed. Joshua Robinson pulling out almost now a full second ahead of Whirl with 4 laps to go. Other battles that are going on out on track, not a lot of them for position, as everyone's pretty equal distance out. I think the closest one might be in our top 10 for 5th place, where Andrew Hess is holding back Kyle McCoy. But that's a 4 about 10th gap. And then there's another one for 7th of James McRae, Dylan Grimm, a 4/10 difference there. It's Joshua Robinson up front, loving the fact that everyone's so spaced out.
He really likes that. That's the best opportunity for this race to stay clean and green to the end with 3 laps to go. Robinson in prime position to pull off a victory here at the Nashville Superspeedway. What a night, though, it's been. It was some turmoil there for a lot of drivers in the middle portion of that race as they got that yellow flag. It shook everything up, and this is the driver that took advantage of it.
He really did. Going through 3 and 4, a race that in the past trends showed signs that it was all Kyle McCoy to watch out for, as he had won every single race here at Nashville Superspeedway. Then you saw the trends of this race has a chance of going green all the way through because there'd only been one in the last 3 races. Well, the trends have been shattered. They've been broken. We've had 2 cautions here tonight. Kyle McCoy is back in 6th place. It's all Joshua Robinson up front for the 30 machine. He's trying to grab his first win of the season. He's been consistent, been up front, and now off the exit of turn 4, doesn't have to worry about a yellow flag because it's the freaky fast white flag in the air for the 30 machine of Robinson.
1.33 miles to go. No worries for this 30. He just knows, bring it back in one piece, and you're going to be in victory lane with that gap he has down the back straightaway for the last time. It's got to feel good for this 30 team to get back to victory lane here.
Doesn't have to worry about points, but he was 3rd in points coming into tonight. He had 4 top 10s, only 1 top 5 this season. Took him 7 tries, but season 7, race 7, give it to the 30 machine. Joshua Robinson is back into victory lane.
What a job by him. Took advantage of that caution and never looked back. I tell you, he had an opportunity to win that race even if that caution didn't come out with the speed he had, but it just showed you gotta make the right calls at the right time, be in the right place too, and get those lucky moments to break your way, and you can end up in victory lane like this 30.
I mean, the timing works out perfectly for Joshua Robinson, stealing the win, you could say, with the timing of the yellow. And with Thomas Ogle on the other side of things, 10th place for the driver that dominated the first half of his race here tonight. Wasn't the night for Thomas Ogle, but for Joshua Robinson, Chris Whirl, Scott Rickard. We'll be talking to them for the post-race show and someone else to get their thoughts on tonight's race. The 30 machine of Joshua Robinson, enjoy this win as we will step aside. We'll be back for the post-race show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the post-race show for the Stars and Stripes Racing Series. Tonight, race number 7 for the Honky Tonk 200 goes to Joshua Robinson. The timing of the yellows strung out, lined up perfectly in the 30. Found himself being the leader and the dominator after the last caution that we had. Josh, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Those those mid cautions kind of changed things up, got you in the position to be up front and win this thing. Man, how are you feeling with this victory?
Feeling pretty good. How you guys doing tonight?
I've been doing pretty solid ourselves. Certainly a night of unknowns with the way that the trends all got broken.
Yeah, sometimes the cautions giveth, sometimes the cautions taketh. Tonight they giveth.
That they definitely did, Josh. And I mean, put us in your seat there when that caution did come out. The guys that you were battling all throughout that run leading up to that point there in the top 3, all of them trapped the lap down and having to take the way around. Does that raise the confidence for you, or do you not even think about that? Just focus on what's ahead.
It did a little bit because Tom and James were really fast there, but I know I didn't know if Kyle got caught a lap down or not. Actually, both the Kyles, but I knew Scott was going to be fast. I knew Chris was going to be fast, and there's a slew of cars here that could easily capture a win here. So a little bit of confidence because I think Tom was probably the car to beat, but that's just how it goes some nights, unfortunately.
That it certainly does. And coming into this night, you were looking already pretty solid points-wise to make it into the playoffs. Now that you have this win, how much of a relief is it knowing that now your spot for the playoffs are now confirmed?
Pretty relieving, which is the exact emotion I felt last year at this time.
I mean, certainly it does feel a little bit of deja vu at moments compared to last season, and you find yourself in a victory lane here at the Concrete. Josh, congratulations. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Sure. Want to shout out to the League of Bench for putting this on. You guys for doing the broadcast. We can't do it without any of you guys. Shout out to my teammates over at Team Spite, Tom, Andrew, and Brian. Pretty good team points tonight. So that's going to be pretty good to see where those shake up. And good job to the league. Last week we were at Bristol. Bristol always raises the emotions and the cautions. So good to see us have a good clean race tonight.
That it certainly was. Well, that's going to be your winner here tonight for the Honky Tonk 200, Joshua Robinson in the 30 machine. Congratulations on your first one this season, and good luck next week at Homestead.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, from victory lane, we head down to second place, where we've got the 6 machine of Chris Whirl. Tried his best to hold back the 30 machine, but second was the best that he can handle. Chris, congratulations on a second place finish. Man, how are you feeling after tonight's run?
It's a good finish. I'm stoked. I wish I could have got one more position, but I'm sure everybody in second place does. So, just glad for the points tonight.
Yeah, definitely some great points tonight for yourself, Chris, man, and a great run. It's your best career finish here at Stars and Stripes after showing tons of speed throughout the races. I'm sure this finish is definitely got to hopefully get the ball rolling the right way for you. How do you feel heading into these next few weeks with a great run like this?
I'm not too sure on the schedule, but so far I'm enjoying racing these cars. It's been a lot of fun. Just hoping we can time the cautions right. Really, that's the hardest thing to do so far to me. Like, I can't really tell when I should pit or when I shouldn't. The cautions are kind of just so random here lately, so I feel like if I can just get on the lucky side of that, I might have a chance at it.
Yeah, I can have the same feeling about the cautions there, Chris. I mean, this league is known for going caution-free at times. Others, you can have a few cautions that can shake things up. But just to confirm on those next coming tracks, we're heading to Homestead, Kentucky, and then Twin Ring Motegi.
Oh, nice. That should be a lot of fun, though. Especially Homestead. I've never ran at Motegi yet, but that should be a lot of fun.
And we're excited to see how you're going to be running at those tracks, Chris. Before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
ButtKicker, Next Level Racing, the Moonshine Mafia, our teammates, Brian, George, and James. Freaky Fast, I'd like to say, Zach, I remember running into Earl a long time ago, with Bobby Hamilton got me in there. Bobby Hamilton Jr. got me in the league, and I haven't seen much of the broadcast since. But man, I want to say you guys are doing an excellent job. Definitely the best broadcast group out there. So thank you guys for putting on a good show.
Well, thank you for giving us the show to cover, Chris. Congratulations on second place, and good luck next week.
Thanks, guys.
Well, from second place, we go down to third position. We're going to talk to Scott Rickard in the 05. Had a solid run for himself. Scott, congratulations on third place. Man, how are you feeling after tonight's performance?
Pretty good. Qualifying wasn't the greatest, but I'm not the greatest qualifier almost every time. So I'm glad to get back to third.
Yeah, a great job to get back to third there for you, Scott. Definitely a good gain from where you started here tonight, man. But it seemed like that last run there, you stretched it farther than anybody there. Were you looking for that yellow that maybe we saw on that first set of green flag stops to happen again?
Yeah, I just wanted to lead a couple laps to get the bonus points. That was the only reason to go a couple extra.
Well, it certainly looked like it lined up perfectly for you to get a solid finish here tonight, Scott. Top 3 finish. We're now heading to Homestead, then Kentucky, and Twin Ring. How are you feeling about these upcoming races?
Homestead, I feel good. Twin Ring, I've done one race there ever, and that was in ARCA car like a year and a half ago. So I don't know about that one. In Kentucky, I don't like Kentucky, so we'll see how that one goes.
Well, we know that you've got the speed at almost every track we go to, Scott, so we're expecting you to do well at those courses. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours.
Everybody, December for mental health, everybody on my team, and my dog in a room.
Well, that will be the 05. Scott Rickard, congratulations on third, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
As we go from third place, we bring in our spotlight driver who's going to be tied with the biggest mover of the day, coming in 8th place. It's Dylan Grimm in the 23. Dylan, we were watching you at the start of the race. You were really making your way forward, made a little bit of stall out in the 8th place position, but still a great run. How are you feeling after tonight's race?
I'm feeling pretty good about my run, especially considering how this past month or so has gone for me in this league. Passed quite a few cars tonight, so I'm pretty content with the 8th place finish.
No doubt, no doubt. Definitely a great run for yourself, Dylan. I mean, you learned. I feel like you had to learn a good bit that first run up to that green flag pit stop there. Unfortunately, you had to take the wave there also, as a lot of drivers. So did that help you kind of recover from that wave around? Learning what you did in that first run to make all those passes.
Yeah, I think passing all those cars on the first run definitely taught me a lot about how to get around guys the second time around after that caution came out and I had to get the wave around. But unfortunately, I kind of just stalled up to 8th, and my long run speed tonight wasn't great. Um, so yeah, I kind of just stalled around there, but definitely passed quite a few cars.
I mean, Dylan, this season hasn't been going the best way for yourself, only coming in before tonight just with one top 10 finish. But how are you feeling about these next selection of races that we're heading towards? Homestead, Kentucky, and Twin Ring, on how it's going to help you moving forward in this rest of the regular season?
Yeah, I like Homestead a lot. That's one of my favorites for sure. Twin Ring, I've never raced on, so definitely need to get some practice there and see how it drives with these cars. But hopefully I can just build on this finish tonight and start getting better finishes. And it'd be really nice if I could just get that win and not have to worry about trying to point my way in this season.
Well, we cannot wait to see if that moment happens. Dylan, congratulations once again on another top 10 finish for yourself. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I want to shout out Nate and everyone who puts on this great league. You guys up in the broadcast booth, you guys do an amazing job every week. My papa for spotting for me every week. All my teammates at Grim Roberts Racing, June, Ryan, Diego, they've helped me so much this season with qualifying laps and all that. I think that's about it.
Well, again, congratulations on another top 10 finish, Dylan. Congratulations and good luck next week.
Thank you, guys.
As that will be tied your biggest mover of the day, being our spotlight driver. A great run for the 23 machine, but the one that takes the victory, the 30 of Joshua Robinson, getting it done for himself. Again, the timing of the yellows really helped out the 30 machine to get into victory lane. As take a look at our unofficial results. It was all Joshua Robinson for the second half of the race. Saw moments from Chris Worrell, Scott Rickard being your top 3. But it was a lot of the drivers further down in the field that really had the troublesome spots, as James Lowe comes away in 4th, Andrew Hess in 5th, Kyle McCoy 6th, James McRae. What a run for the 17 machine with the timing of that yellow, allowing the 17 to get 7th, Dylan Grimm 8th, Kyle Bowling 9th, and Thomas Ogle, disappointing probably to himself, 10th place finish for the 11.
Very disappointing, I think, for Ogle. And I mean, you heard from Joshua Robinson. He talked about how dominant he was. So that 10th place finish is going to sting for Ogle after coming off a win at Bristol last week. As we scroll through the rest of the order, some up and down nights from guys with different strategies, getting caught with yellows, just all types of things going wrong. It was a tough night for Ross Tatum, one of our top drivers, back in 18th. And even Diego Valle there, he had a really tough night, finishing back there to 28th after his strong start to the night. So Nashville was up and down for a lot of folks, but a lot are very happy that they came out here with some good runs with the drivers up front, getting the ones they did, and really some good recovery drives from some of the drivers that took that wave, Sam. I gotta say, like, really, really good job by them. James Lowe, I think, did the best of anybody, really, so that was very, very impressive to see from him.
Very solid day for the 17, and after tonight's race, a lot more of a one-lane course. Next week, going to be multiple lanes as the drivers get ready to go to South Beach, to go to Miami, Homestead, and at Speedway, so many different lanes and grooves to utilize, as well as tire wear going to be a factor to watch out for. I'm excited for next week, Zach, on what this field at Stars and Stripes is going to bring.
Very excited, Sam, to say the least. That track with this car, huge combination right there. I think we'll see them running all over that place. It might even be top dominant at this point with this race car. I know we'll really have to see when we get there, but that's going to be a very, very good race. This track, one groove racetrack, Homestead, though, probably one of the best out there when it comes to multi-groove action.
Cannot wait for it. Progressive Banking should be giving us a great show next week. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. If you'd like to watch more of our broadcasts that we give out, so we got the weekend off. We'll be back Monday night for the ISRC Truck Series. Tuesday's the Full Send Racing Series, as they're going to be in the Xfinity car. Then back to Gen 4 on Wednesday for the WSSR Cup Series, and then right back here next week, Homestead, for the Stars and Stripes. And if you want to watch all that coverage, remember to subscribe, hit that bell notification to be notified when we go live. It's been some great racing action these last couple of months. Cannot believe that for some leagues we're at the halfway marker. For others, about to be hitting the playoffs. It's the perfect time, Zach, to be getting subscribed and ready for all the racing action.
No doubt, Sam. Yeah, 2 leagues right on the verge of going into their playoffs, and we got Stars and Stripes also Full Send here hitting their midpoint of their season. It's getting fun now, man. We're starting to learn the pecking orders. We're learning who's the drivers to beat, who are the X factors, and who are the dark horses. And you never know. You never get that surprise underdog win. It might be right around the corner for some of these drivers to get in the playoffs. So, yeah, if you ain't hit that subscribe button or the bell notification button yet, you need to do it now, because it's right here getting ready to be some of the best racing you're going to see in all of iRacing on Freaky Fast.
Don't want to miss out on any of it. Again, we've got the weekend off, so enjoy your weekend and get ready. Monday night, ISRC Truck Series. It's going to be our next Freaky Fast Broadcasting coverage. But for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for being with us here tonight on your Thursday night. And we will see you Monday for more Truck Series action for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.